When should you use the word one, the singular form, and when should you use the plural form, which is ones? Welcome to a new episode on your channel Pure English. So, as you can see, the main and the primary difference between the two words, one and ones, is the fact that the first one is singular, which is one, and the other one is plural, which is ones. So the main usage of these words is that we use them to avoid repetition. So we use one to avoid repeating a singular countable noun, whereas we use ones to avoid repeating a plural countable one. Let me give you a couple of examples to highlight this. So when you say, I think his best poems are his early ones. So this means that the speaker wants to say, I think his early poems or his best poems are his early poems. But instead of repeating the word poems, the speaker uses the word ones. So they say, I think his best poems are his early ones, rather than saying his early poems a second time. Another example to highlight the usage of the word one. We have two speakers in this dialogue. One of them is saying, can I get you a drink? So speaker A says, can I get you a drink? Then speaker B replies by saying, it's okay, I've already got one. So the second speaker, speaker B, originally means I have already got a drink, which is the word used by the first speaker or speaker A. But instead of repeating the same word, which is a drink, the second speaker, speaker B, decides to use the word one. So he replies to the question, can I get you a drink? By saying, it's okay, I have already got one. So as you could see, the word ones replaced a plural countable noun, which was poems in our example, and the word one replaced a singular countable word noun, which is the word a drink in our example. We don't use these words, one and ones, instead of an uncountable noun, because uncountable nouns cannot be counted, and when you use the word one or ones, that's a number at the end of the day, so it means that you are talking about a number of things or a number of people. And because uncountable nouns cannot be counted, so it doesn't make any sense, it's illogical to use one and ones to refer to them. So one is used instead of repeating a singular countable noun. Ones is used instead of repeating a plural countable noun, whereas the two words, neither of them can be used to replace an uncountable noun. Ones or one, both of them can be used to refer to both people or things, by the way. So you can use one to refer to a thing or to a person, and you can use ones to refer to a group of things or a group of people. Also, we have some special expressions which use these words. Expressions like the following. You can say, for example, the little ones. The little ones. This expression means small children. So I ask you, for example, how are your little ones? How are your little ones? Which means, how are your children? So you tell me, for instance, they are doing very well. Also, when I talk about my loved ones, this means my close friends and family members. So you say, for example, Samantha is one of my loved ones, which means that Samantha is one of my close friends or one of my family members. Also, when you say the lucky ones, this means that you are talking about lucky people in general. So when you say, I'm not one of those lucky ones, so this means that you are talking about yourself and describing yourself as being unlucky. Well, in some positions in sentences, it is optional to use the words one and ones. So I'll tell you now a list of words after which the usage of one or ones is optional. So we have the following words: which, either, neither, another, each, this, that, these, those, ordinals, which is the first, the second, the third, and so on, and lastly, superlatives. Superlatives are like tallest, shortest, smartest, and so on. So all of the words I have just mentioned, it is optional to use the words one and ones after them. For example, you can say, when we buy medicines, we should try to know which contain sugar or which ones contain sugar. So after which, you can use ones or one, or you can leave them out. Another example, look at that pumpkin. It's the biggest I have seen this year, or it's the biggest one I have seen this year. So in this example, we have a superlative, which is the biggest. So you can include one or you can omit it. You can say it's the biggest I have seen this year, or it's the biggest one I have seen this year. The last test I did was quite easy, but this is pretty difficult. Or you can say, but this one is pretty difficult. So after this, you can use or include one, or you can remove it. One more example about this point. She cleared away the cups, washed each thoroughly, and put them on the shelf. You can say washed each thoroughly or washed each one thoroughly, because after each you can include the words one and ones, or you can omit it. So, this means that after all the words I mentioned in my last point, the usage of one and ones is optional. But there are some other words that we are obliged or forced to use the words one and ones after them. What are these words? The only, the main, every, and after adjectives. Again, so these 5 things, we need to use one and ones after them if the context necessitates that. So if the meaning or the context of the sentence makes it essential to use one or ones after these words, we cannot omit one and ones and we must use them. Let me tell you the 5 words again. The only, the main, every, and after adjectives. Let's take a couple of examples. When you cook clams, you shouldn't eat the ones that don't open. So after that, we cannot say you shouldn't eat the that don't open. No, you must use one, because without using one or ones in a sentence like that, the sentence will be incorrect. Again, so when you cook clams, you shouldn't eat the ones that don't open. After that, we must include ones in a sentence like this. After I got the glasses home, I found that every one was broken. You cannot say I found that every was broken. We must include one in order to complete the meaning. So we say again, after I got the glasses home, I found that everyone was broken. And lastly, my shoes were so uncomfortable that I had to go out and buy new ones. We cannot stop after saying new and end the sentence there. You cannot say that I had to go out and buy new, and then put a full stop or a period. No, you can't do that. The meaning won't be complete this way. So you must use one or ones according to the meaning of the sentence. Here, we need ones. So we say, my shoes were so uncomfortable that I had to go out and buy new ones. I hope that was useful, how to use the words one and ones correctly and effectively in sentences. I look forward to seeing you in our next episodes. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friends, and goodbye for now.